Hi, doctor. My name is Yuan. The topic I'm going to talk about is reproductive autonomy from the perspective of gender justice, a historical and current analysis of China's family planning policy. When we discuss the issue gender justice, we may think about anti-gender based violence, care and empowerment, bodily autonomy, etc. But in this video, I will mainly focus on the issue reproductive autonomy, taking China as an example to analyze Chinese family planning policy. Reproductive autonomy as a necessary component of women's physical rights has gradually become one of the important criteria for measuring social justice and gender equality. The article emphasizes that true gender justice is not only equality in the legal sense, but also should be reflected in the reflection and change of the oppressive structure in the individual's life experience. Under this theoretical framework, China's decades-long family planning policy is a typical case. The tension it has created between national goals and individuals' rights has particularly influenced women's reproductive choices, physical freedom, and social status. The part 1 is theoretical background, gender justice, and reproductive autonomy. Gender justice goes beyond equal opportunity, focusing on how laws, institutions, and cultures shape women's life through structural oppression. In O'Connell's research on reproductive rights in Latin America, she emphasized the key gap between legal empowerment and practical realization, pointing out that when the state implements policies in the name of public interest, it is very easy to erode women's physical rights and freedom of choice. In this sense, reproductive autonomy is not only the right of women to decide whether, when, and in what way to have children, but also a fundamental manifestation of an individual's control over their body and life. Gender justice requires that in the process of policy making, the state should make sure that individual freedom is not swallowed up by collectivism and national goals. Part 2. Historical background, changes in China's family planning policy. Since the implementation of the one-child policy in 1979, China's fertility policy has undergone multiple rounds of adjustments, from it's better to have only one child to universal two-child, and then to encouraging three-child. Superficially, this series of transformation reflects the country's strategy to the population structure. However, at every stage, women's bodies have always been regulated or even passively sacrificed as state tools. Part 3. Case analysis, body monitoring, and out-of-control pre-creation. The mechanism for policy implementation reflects a systematic violation of women's physical privacy. For instance, during the one-child policy, menstrual monitors were established in some places, requiring women to report their menstrual cycles monthly in order to detect unplanned pregnancies. The second is the excessive use of intrauterine devices. According to data in 2009, about 53% of women of childbearing age in China used intrauterine devices, which was much higher than the world average level. In some past periods and regions, the use of IUDs were even mandatory, and women were required to have an intrauterine device inserted immediately after giving birth to comply with regulations. In some extreme cases, local governments even used armed militia to track down women who had more children than allowed, forcing them to have abortions or sterilization surgeries. These actions not only took away women's basic control over their own bodies, but also seriously violated their human rights. More seriously, the outsourcing of reproductive rights has further weakened women's say in marriage, family, and even society. A study shows that the average opportunity cost borne by Chinese women for raising children is as high as 570,000 RMB. This institutional inequality further weakens their economic independence and freedom of choice. Part 4. Institutional criticism from the perspective of gender justice. Like I said before, from the perspective of gender justice, the most core issue of China's family planning policy lays in that state power penetrates women's bodily in the name of public interest and constructs a reasonable oppressive structure through multiple means, such as laws, administration, and culture. In this structure, women not only lose the right to choose to have children, but also the right to determine the integrity of their own bodies. Behind the numerous micro-policies and the data lay in the tiny profound life experiences of countless specific women. My grandmother is one of them. I still remember 10 years ago, after suffered from severe gynecological inflammation, even she is over 60 years that year, still have IUDs implanted in her body from her early years. Her painful face when she was told by the doctor that the IUD have long adhered to the muscle tissue and cannot be removed. Their body were once the battlefield for the country to regulate the population. Their silence conceals the unspoken pain of a generation. Just as O'Connell pointed out in her analysis of reproductive rights in Latin America, the state often works together with religion and culture, using terms like ethics, order, and responsibility to justify control. But in reality, this creates real pressure on individual freedom. In China, although religion isn't involved, a highly bureaucratic approach has had a similar effect, turning women into tools for achieving population targets. The last part is conclusion, from historical experience to future gender policies. Learning from the history can help us understand the direction of the future. Just as this article states, promoting gender equality should not merely remain at the theoretical or paper policy level, but should be transformed into a profound reflection and revision of the institutional structure. The problems explored by China's family planning policy remind us that the design and implementation of any future population policy must be premised on respecting individual rights, especially women's reproductive autonomy. When we talk about reproductive autonomy today, it is not to condemn the past, but to awaken the system designers' concern for people and their reference for power. I believe that only when women truly have the decision-making power over their own bodies and a living space free from corrosion and fear can gender justice step from concept into practice, and the development of the country and the society can move towards a true modern civilization. That's my references. Thank you for your listening. Thank you. Bye-bye.